I remember the first flutter of suspicion settling over my chest late one Tuesday after the office closed. I was compiling code for a fintech sprint in downtown Dallas while texting Madison, my girlfriend of 3 years, that I'd be home soon. She answered with a yawning emoji and said she was crashing early. Bored, I alt-tabbed to the smart home dashboard we'd geeked out over when we moved into the loft. Color-shifting bulbs, motorized blackout curtains, even a thermostat that learns our comfort curve. A red flag blinked on the activity log. At 2:06 p.m. that afternoon, the living room lights had dimmed to 20%, the curtains had closed, and the entry lock had disengaged, all triggered from the guest profile. Madison kept that code secret for her mom's visits. No one else should have had it. I chalked it up to a firmware hiccup until I scrolled farther back. The same combo, lights down, curtains shut, lock open, appeared every Wednesday at exactly 2 p.m. For months. Wednesday happened to be my one immovable block of time, a 5-hour sprint review on the other side of town. I could feel the old developer instinct kick in, equal parts curiosity and dread. I toggled deep packet logging, routed the logs to a hidden server, and ordered a thumbnail camera disguised as an air quality sensor. Installing it felt like moral quicksand, but I told myself the worst that could happen was an apology for being paranoid. Still, my hands shook as I wedged the sensor between a Spider-Man Funko Pop and a pothos plant on the TV stand. Its 2 TB microSD and motion trigger encoding meant it would see everything the loft saw, pixel for pixel. Wednesday rolled around as reliably as a cron job. I parked 2 blocks from the building at 1:55 and opened the feed, my pulse hammering against my ribs. The bulb slipped to golden hour amber, curtains whispered shut, and the front door unlocked itself. Tyler, the barista from Grindhouse Coffee downstairs, stepped into view, denim apron and all. Madison greeted him with a grin I hadn't seen since college spring break. They kissed, nothing sloppy, just practiced comfort. She led him toward the sofa. My camera's angle stopped at their knees, thank every lecture on privacy law, but the implication gutted me. I clenched the steering wheel, wavering between an explosive entrance and silent documentation. The engineer and me, collect the full repro steps before filing the bug. 90 agonizing minutes later, Tyler left adjusting his cap while Madison reset the whole apartment to welcome home mode like erasing a chalkboard. I walked in at 5 with grocery bags and a smile that felt stapled to my face. She was folding my laundry, every sock, every tee, busy work to bury guilt. Over frozen pizza, I asked how her afternoon went. Boring, she replied, eyes on TikTok. I cataloged the lie. When she dozed off, I offloaded and hashed the footage twice, stashing copies in cold storage and a thumb drive taped under Brandon's spare room dresser. Before dawn, I confronted her with the logs and a still frame of Tyler's apron. Color drained from her cheeks, but she didn't cry. She slipped into boardroom posture and asked for 24 hours to put everything in context. Against reason, I agreed. 24 hours stretched like gum in August heat. I camped on Brandon's couch and doom-scrolled breakup subreddits until Madison shared an unlisted Google Drive link titled Context. The video opened with her sitting cross-legged in our living room, lights flipped to neon talk show purple. "Welcome back to How to Cheat and Get Caught," she chirped to an invisible audience. Today's episode, the neighbor barista trope. Jump cuts laid out her plan: stage the most textbook affair possible, use IoT devices to telegraph every illicit move, then reveal the receipts to spark a debate about surveillance culture. Tyler wasn't just a barista, he was a SAG-eligible actor on a day player contract. The clip ended with a disclaimer that no emotional boundaries were harmed in the making of this satire. My stomach churned, but the creator in me noticed she'd left ads toggled off. Her follow-up email read, "Let's discuss royalties before this drops." By sunrise, I had real counsel. Texas is a one-party consent state. My devices shot the footage, so I owned the raw content. Madison raced to court for declaratory judgment. The hearing streamed on a local journalist's X feed and ricocheted onto TikTok within hours. Tyler testified that every kiss was choreographed, sponsorship emails from a security camera startup in hand. Madison argued transformative fair use. My attorney hammered intellectual property law. The judge ruled that while Madison owned her channel concept, I owned every pixel from my hardware. Any episode featuring that footage required a license, payable to me. A clerk's nephew clipped the ruling's mic drop moment to YouTube Shorts, and the midday mocha misstep hit 10 million views in a day. Reaction channels froze Tyler's guilty smirk, pundits argued digital boundaries, and I woke up to AdSense onboarding emails. Madison texted, "At least the algorithm likes us." I didn't answer. Instead, I toggled mid-rolls on the video. If the internet insisted on watching my worst Wednesday on repeat, it could pay next month's rent. 2 weeks later, I moved to a quieter apartment with dumb curtains, learned to brew pour-over, and kept the thumbnail camera on my bookshelf as a reminder. Sometimes the firmware update you need is for yourself, not your devices. By the time the first AdSense payment hit my checking account, my phone was buzzing like a swarm of cicadas. Overnight, I'd gone from anonymous software engineer to that IoT revenge guy on reaction podcasts. BuzzFeed ran a listicle ranking my top 5 accidental influencer moments, and a late-night host riffed that I'd turned heartbreak into a side hustle, more lucrative than crypto. At work, my team lead, Jordan, printed the meme of me holding a coffee mug labeled Tyler's Tears and taped it to my monitor. I laughed because if I didn't, I'd probably smash something. The loft felt radioactive, so I signed a 6-month lease on a 3rd-floor walk-up near White Rock Lake. No smart devices allowed. The landlord scoffed when I asked if the thermostat had Wi-Fi. She pointed to a brass dial older than both of us. Perfect. I furnished the place with Craigslist finds and a brand new silence. That piece lasted until a talent manager named Kelsey Mendoza DM'd me. She represented a network that packages viral true story narrators into polished YouTube docuseries. Kelsey's pitch: they'd license the footage from me, film glossy reenactments, and sell mid-roll inventory to home security brands. "Think Dateline meets Black Mirror," she wrote, promising 6 figures and back-end points. Money was tempting, but I pictured having to relive every frame on a soundstage while an actor wearing my haircut pretended to watch his girlfriend kiss a barista. I left her on read. A week later, Madison broke her digital silence with a paper letter. No sender address, just my name in fountain pen loops. She apologized without apology, framing the stunt as performance art meant to critique domestic surveillance. She enclosed a notarized revenue share proposal, 40-40-20 split, me, her, Tyler. I couldn't tell if the audacity made me furious or impressed. I tucked the papers in a drawer next to my spare keys and an unopened bottle of bourbon. That Friday, I met Rachel from QA for barbecue after a release push. She'd always been blunt in a way that felt safe. Between bites of brisket, she asked how it felt to have half the internet dissect my pain. I shrugged and said it was like watching someone else's highlight reel of my worst day. She nodded, wiped sauce off her lip, and offered a different angle. "You turned a violation of trust into documented evidence. That's value creation, even if it's messy." On the drive home, I realized I'd been coding my feelings into neat Boolean states, betrayed or fine, off or on, when reality was more like fuzzy logic. Sunday morning arrived with a certified mail envelope from a streaming giant whose name rhymes with Flix Prime. Inside, a cease and desist accusing me of infringing Madison's creative work by uploading the unedited camera feed. My lawyer, Karen, fired back citing the judge's ruling and attached the device ownership clause. The platform folded in 48 hours, but the skirmish sparked fresh commentary. A cybersecurity journalist named Logan Pierce invited me onto his Twitch show to discuss digital consent in the age of ambient recording. I agreed on the condition we keep it technical, no tabloid angles. The interview surprised me. Logan guided the conversation toward legislation gaps and asked how I'd redesign smart home APIs to prevent silent guest logins. I sketched off-token life cycles on a virtual whiteboard, forgetting 500,000 viewers were clipping my every word. When the stream ended, Logan messaged, "People need practical fixes, not just drama. You up for collaborating on an open-source project?" Collaboration sounded better than courtroom ping-pong, so I said yes. We stood up a GitHub repo named SafeLight, aiming to let homeowners audit device actions in plain English. Stars and forks skyrocketed. Even Kelsey, the talent manager, starred the repo, adding a thumbs-up emoji I couldn't interpret. That's when Madison resurfaced in person. I was grabbing cold brew outside a farmer's market when she stepped from the shade, wearing oversized sunglasses and a look equal parts regret and determination. "The story isn't finished," she said, "and if we don't shape it, someone else will." Before I could respond, paparazzi wannabes swung phone cameras our way, hungry for thumbnails. Madison lowered her voice. "Logan's project is trending. Brands are scared. They'll pay for influence. Let's leverage this together." My pulse ticked up, but I caught my reflection in her lenses. Tired eyes, a week of stubble, a man deciding whether to rebuild a bridge or light it up for warmth. I told her we could talk, but not here. We pointedly walked separate directions, cameras angling for a reaction that never came. Back in my apartment, I closed the blinds. Manual, no motors, and open SafeLight's issue tracker. Logan had filed a new feature request. Monetized device action alerts, because if corporations are profiting off your data, you should too. The irony tasted metallic. I sat with my laptop glowing in the dusk, thinking that maybe the real business model wasn't revenge or satire, but transparency with a price tag. And if I'd learned anything, it was that every log entry tells a story. The question is, who controls the narrative royalty next? I stared at the new pull request queue until the lines of code blurred into a single gray river. Then I closed the laptop and drove to the late-night taco truck off Greenville, the one that still took cash and didn't ask for a loyalty app download. A plate of al pastor helped me think. Madison wanted to fold our mess into a shared brand. Logan wanted to harden privacy architecture. Kelsey dangled production checks like shiny keys. All of them framed the next move as a simple fork. But I could feel a multi-dimensional merge conflict coming. Monday kicked off with an email from my VP. The company's chief counsel flagged my sudden media presence as potential reputational risk. Translation: keep shipping features, but don't drag the firm into gossip crossfire. I promised to silo the drama and went back to debugging rate limiter code while Slack pings stacked up from SafeLight contributors across 4 time zones. That night, Logan invited me to DEF CON to demo a prototype that turned device events into NFTs, proof of ownership stamped on chain. I hesitated. Blockchain hype felt like déjà vu, but if stamped logs meant fewer couples in my shoes, maybe it was worth the flight to Vegas. On the plane, I drafted a talk titled Heartbreak-Driven Development, Turning Personal Breaches into Public Guardrails. Madison texted midair. "Tyler signed the release. He's out. We're a cleaner headline now." I thumbed back a non-committal "ha" and killed Wi-Fi. The desert flickered below like a giant circuit board, and for a moment the city's neon looked less like temptation and more like a status LED, blinking yellow, waiting for input. DEF CON was sensory overload. Meme teas, badge hacking contests, spontaneous drum circles made of recycled routers. Logan and I unveiled SafeLight 0.9 in a cramped ballroom. The demo: a lamp winked Morse code whenever its data left the local network, and an overlay showed a micropayment sliding into the owner's wallet. The crowd cheered, phones up, hashtags flying. A venture fund rep cornered us with a term sheet scribbled on the back of a hotel notepad. I laughed, half in disbelief, half because the ink started bleeding under the humidity of servers and sweat. Later, at a rooftop mixer where dubstep rattled the glass railing, Madison appeared again. This time with a badge around her neck that read, Influencer Track. She looked tired, cheeks hollow from caffeine or nerves. "Congratulations," she said, watching the encrypted light show across the strip. "The project's everywhere. Kelsey's pitching a docuseries cross-cutting your talk with my making-of footage." I told her I'd come to build safeguards, not syndicate breakups. She nodded, pulling a thumb drive from her pocket. "This is the raw vlog. Every take, even the parts where I doubted the whole stunt. If you publish it on your channel, frame it however you want. No strings. Maybe it balances the story." I pocketed the drive, surprised by the tremor in her voice. It struck me that we were both trying to version control a relationship that had already been force-pushed. I thanked her and drifted to the edge of the party, where the skyline hummed like a distant server rack. Back in my hotel room, I watched her raw clips. Between the rehearsed punchlines were pauses where she wrestled with the ethics, eyes darting off camera as if looking for an exit. The anger I'd nursed for weeks loosened, replaced by something less binary. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I uploaded a new video titled Patch Notes for Real Life. I spliced Madison's hesitations beside my DEF CON demo, overlaying commit messages. V1.0 trust broken. V1.1 proof captured. V2.0 lessons open sourced. No ads, no mid-rolls, just a donate link to Electronic Frontier Foundation, and a note. If your smart home betrays you, read the logs, and then read the people behind them. By evening, the comments section was a surreal truce zone. Baristas praising transparency, InfoSec pros debating token scopes, even couples sharing how they'd audited their own devices together. Kelsey emailed a last-ditch offer. I told her the story had already merged to main. Madison texted a single line, not the arc I planned, but a better release candidate. I replied, ship it. The next Wednesday at 2 p.m., the time that used to taste like rust, I sat at my analog desk lamp, curtains wide open, and watched sunlight spill across the hardwood. No alerts fired. Nothing clandestine clicked. Just the quiet hum of an unplugged apartment and an open-source repo gaining stars, one notification at a time.